All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you coming in, especially with what's going on outside. So hopefully everybody was safe and sound and not like Mark up at 6 a.m. shoveling their driveway. I think many of us probably were. What I wanted to do as we start this session is really just iterate some of the messaging that we had this morning. Chris Betty, our Chief Customer Officer, was talking about AI, the platform for government transformation. You're going to be hearing that throughout many of the sessions. And so just thinking about that and what it means to us is really around, we know that ServiceNow is a single platform that allows work to flow across all of your technology landscape, right? And anybody who interacts with the government is empowered in that platform. And so what AI does for us, and if we put it at the center there and how this all works, is that it goes to every corner of your organization, from HR to IT to customer service to risk. And the way that's done is, we talked a little about this morning, if you were in that keynote, about data, right? We have these AI agents that drive action across your workflows, collecting data. And we have a workflow fabric tool that's actually collecting it from wherever it resides, whether it's on your legacy system, on your SharePoint, bringing it all together, unifying it, understanding it, so that the AI agents can then take it through and utilize that workflow that you've created within ServiceNow. So for today's conversation, I've got a couple of panelists, and we're going to change the topic a little bit from a perspective of, we are going to talk about the future, we're going to talk about AI a little bit, but we're going to focus on future-focused enablement for your talent strategies. And so I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Pamela Graulich. I am a senior manager for our core business services here at ServiceNow, which includes our employee workflows suite of solutions. And I've been with ServiceNow, April will be 7 years, so I've been to a couple of Fed forums. So this one was a surprise when the snow came. I've had two wonderful speakers with us today, so I'll let them introduce themselves. And as you introduce yourself, maybe if you can talk about your favorite project that you've worked on where you've leveraged ServiceNow to solve.
Good morning, everyone. Absala Mengestab. I'm the Chief Information Officer for DC Government Department of Human Resources. And just a little bit about me. So DC HR rather, serves our DC government agencies for HR for our nearly 40,000 employees across the district. We oversee the benefits administration, recruitments and hiring, as well as our policy and regulations for HR. My favorite project so far is still ongoing. So we completed implementation of IT service management through ServiceNow, but we are ongoing with our HRSD, and so that has been very much near and dear and to our day-to-day operations. So our HRSD implementation has been my favorite one and still ongoing.
Great. Look forward to see what happens with that one.
Absolutely.
Great. Good morning. Mark Patterson. I'm the Chief Information Officer for DoDEA, Department of Defense Education Activity. 65,000 kids I call my own around the world. We're in almost everywhere where there's a military installation. We have a DoD school, OCONUS. Here within the United States, basically located within the southeastern part of the United States. I'm about 11,000 employees, that's teachers and staff, and like I mentioned, 69,000 kids around the world that we support. We also have a very robust non-DoDEA schools program, which we're actually using ServiceNow as well to automate that and working forward. So I think excited projects, wow. Similar HRSD, we're standing that up. That's exciting. We've never had that before in DoDEA. It's always been a call somebody, and if somebody was gone, there's nobody to call, right? Or if somebody's PCS, there's nobody to call. And I think employee service portal, we're standing that up. We had something in place that was just sort of a placeholder. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't functional, so we're establishing the employee service portal as well.
Oh, wonderful. Love to hear more about that. So, both of you all are CIOs, and I know that we're talking about talent strategies today and how we enable future-focused talent strategies. A lot of times, you guys don't get the recognition that you deserve when companies are doing talent strategies. Have you how do you partner with your human capital counterparts to align and prioritize their needs in addition to your needs?
I'll start. So one of the reasons why I really have enjoyed the HRSD implementation, it's still going very well for us, is because it has allowed us to create a collaborative effort with our HR counterparts. We are an HR agency, so the different departments that we have across our agency serve, whether it's the benefits administration or recruitment, throughout the implementation of HRSD, whether it be creating the HR portal, case management, the agent workspace, we have been able to have the conversation in the room as if we're partners and not necessarily the HR team completing their plan and the talent strategies, but it also aligns with our technology roadmap. So aligning those two and being able to have that conversation in the room and not necessarily a service base to come to IT or to the PMO's office and to be able to deliver what they need and already have a solution in place, but rather having a conversation and being a partnership has been a great project that's been working for us so far. So.
Wonderful. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I use that same term, I think, partnership that you use. I mean, that's really important. We just got a new HR director who's very technology focused. So her coming on board and us having that partnership between IT and HR has really helped us move it forward and really allow us to capture her vision and where she wants to go for HR within the organization and then help make that possible. Back to that partnership and being able to implement her vision as to how HR is going to work within DoDEA.
Okay, great.
So just to add to, one of the things we also did was just having a liaison across both on the IT side as well as on the HR side. So that way the conversation's still going. We do a lot of the day in the life where someone from IT is also spending a day to see the pain points, what are the challenges that these different teams are facing, just so that in that conversation of whether it's implementing whatever module of ServiceNow we're working on at that time, that they're better to speak on it rather than just allowing the HR business partner to only speak on that. So.
Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit about scalability. So as government agencies look to future-proof their talent strategies, how can they use innovative technologies to not only streamline current processes, but also to create scalable frameworks that support the evolving demands of tomorrow's workforce? Maybe we'll start with you, Mark.
I think, scalability, one of the things we've done within the platform is use as much out of the box as possible. We've moved away from custom coding, from detailed workflows, and really encourage our business units to start up, HR as one, to start up with out-of-the-box workflows. And then we get a MVP stood up for them, and then we start to build beyond that. If there are changes that need to be made, and I think that's really helped us because we learned a lot of lessons moving forward with other business units to where we didn't do that. And we went in-depth development from the get-go, and it took years, and it wasn't right, and we learned a lot of lessons. So we've readdressed our strategy to look at what is that MVP, work with the customer to identify or the partner to identify that MVP, build towards that, and then short sprints to grow on that versus trying to get the ultimate solution. And it's worked really well. I think that's back to the scalability and how we can get something up quickly. Get something up for the customer. We have a customer experience team that we brought on board as well to help with this, to really understand how it's working, right? Because we're IT, as you mentioned, we have a translator too. Is what we have with a business analyst that really helps us translate what their vision is from HR and what it needs to look like for us. But I think that scalability is there as we look at how we deploy. And giving them an MVP, minimum viable product, upfront, and then works behind that to develop that product out if needed. We're finding a lot of that doesn't need anything beyond that. Let's start there, and then we'll reassess phase 2 and 3.
Yep, I agree. So we also wanted to focus more so from out of the box as much as possible, and then see if we can just leverage and add on to that. The phased approach has worked really well for us. So we started out with just the core HR as far as just with agent workspace and employee portal, and also doing incremental modernization to see what else can we build on, getting the smaller wins and building on that. As we gain more adoption, we're able to just continue to build on that win as well. So,
great. So let's kind of do a little backtrack on, how are you onboarding and retaining talent with ServiceNow? Are you doing anything specific?
So rather than the onboarding piece, more so the retaining, we are focusing on employee experience. We spent a lot of time in our phase 1 working on the employee portal to ensure that whether it's a new hire or it's someone that's been there but has to do the runaround to find information across the different employee portals that we have or the intranet pages, just centralizing all of that HR information into one portal, focusing on ease of use and that employee experience. Every workflow that we've built, we've made sure that it adds value to the employee experience, but also to the HR operations, right? So having those conversations that I mentioned previously really help in that, to just make sure that what does not just a day in the life in our HR teams, but also our day-to-day, our workforce. We've general services or someone from Parks and Recreation. What is their HR needs and how can we build on that even in that portal as our gateway into different HR services?
So getting people ready for day one and beyond and continuing that connection.
So
what about you?
We're just starting our onboarding, and I think it's very positive that we're gathering the information on how we're going to be able to begin looking it out of the box. What can we implement? But we're also going to use that onboarding process to help in our zero trust environment, meaning identity, the creation of accounts, the assignment of work. Those kind of things are going to be built into that onboarding. So it's going to be a great experience for the employee, like we've talked about. But behind the scenes, we're going to use that workflow to create that account almost immediately and do some of those things that nowadays can take 2 to 3 days, right? Back in the old paper form days, right? You come in, you sign the paper, you got to walk around, you do the in-processing. Could take days. It took 3 to 4 days to get a CAC or a longer card for us to get somebody on board. We want to have all that ready when they come, from the creation of their account to their workstation setup. All that should be ready. So we're working towards that now. We're just in the beginning phases, but we're excited about what we're able to do there. Again, bite size, right?
Yeah.
Phases. We got to take it a little bit at a time. You can't go in and try to tackle it all at once, and that's what we're working on now.
Yeah, that seems a smart way to go, right?
Yeah.
People will have a greater experience. Let's talk a little bit about integrating. So ServiceNow's employee workflow solution emphasizes efficiency and agility. We've heard that this morning. How can this technology be integrated into existing government systems, and what are some of the key considerations to ensure that they align with agency goals and compliance requirements?
Yeah. So during this phase that's ongoing for our HRSD, we actually had 2 major integrations, one for our Amazon Connect call center, as well as for our PeopleSoft HRIS system as well. So with that, security is the biggest concern as far as just the records, the data, type of data that, but Integration Hub has been great. We've been able to leverage that to ensure that the compliance requirements and all the security are in place using role-based access to ensure that the appropriate team members have that access that they need as well. But in the CTI for the AWS integration, one of the greatest things that we're working on now implementation on is being able, we get calls from different workforce across the district for benefits related requests. When we initially rolled this out, it was during our open enrollment season. As you can imagine, we get a lot of calls during those benefits changes. So having that centralized hub and one-stop shop for our workforce to be able to get the calls, receive the calls, and automatically create interactions to be able to see all the records and the HR information of the person that's calling in saves significant amount of time rather than working across the different applications that we have. From there, we're also able to create HR cases if that needs escalation, whether it be to our retirements team or policy, whatever the request may go. But that creates a streamlined approach as far as the workflow, but also a centralized hub to see where the requests are coming from and additional information on the metadata that we need. As far as the HRIS, we had to use a middleware approach as far as just getting the information. But even with that, that's been a great, to get that up-to-date data on the employee records and have that data integrity as far as knowing that that synchronization between what's information in the HRIS and what's in ServiceNow has been a great value add because, again, we're not having our workforce go through the different applications to get this information. So, yeah.
Sounds great. I used to be a benefits administrator, so I know what you're talking about. That sounds like a wonderful solution.
It's been a great one.
What about you, Mark?
I think we're working it aggressively. It's hard in DoD to get integrations with other DoD systems a lot of times. We've got some with our financial system. We're working a lot with our COTS products or other products that, like our facilities team is using a different product than ServiceNow. So we're working at bringing that information into the employee service portal. Giving that employee that one view from one location is very critical to what we're trying to implement. So we're looking at everything that we can do to use APIs, to use those interfaces to bring it in. But like you said, security is a big part of that. And how do we control who sees what? Chris mentioned on the opening speech today about the data warehouse that never finishes right. We have one of those that we're working towards as well and are trying to figure out better ways of pulling data in, how we're going to use that, how we're going to integrate. Within our organization, we integrate with multiple curricular systems out there and push information back and forth on a daily basis. And we're looking at how we can bring that information in the future into ServiceNow so we do have a better picture of that employee service portal.
That's great. Well, I don't have any more questions for the panel. I wanted to open it up to the audience. If you guys had any additional questions for our panelists around talent strategies and some innovative approaches. Yeah, if you want to come to the mic, if that'd be okay. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jason Thomas. I'm the Director of HR Shared Services for the Commonwealth of PA. I'm interested in hearing more about the PeopleSoft integration, I guess Absala in your example. We're an SAP shop. We also have HR service delivery. We're in the process of moving to more modern SAP tools, and there's an ongoing debate of like where processes should initiate, right? Because any ERP or HRIS is going to assume, right, that things are going to start in that system, but there is also a vision of we want Employee Center to be the starting point for all employee requests. So have you done anything or thought about how, like, if a manager wants to initiate a promotion, right, what system do they go to initiate that promotion? And, if that initiation is done in ServiceNow, is there a vision for eventual integration with HRIS so things don't have to be rekeyed?
Yeah. So great question, because that's still a discussion that we're still having as far as this initial PeopleSoft integration. We know the interface as far as PeopleSoft. We have heard from multiple workforce as far as just the legacy, the user experience. So how we're approaching it in this initial phase, we're doing a unidirectional pull. So the information is being imported through the middleware into ServiceNow, and that is being displayed for the benefits specialist or whoever it's on the agent side that's processing it. Now, in the future, we did have that conversation, and the goal is to have employee center, just because that provides a more modernized look and feel. And once we are able to streamline the integration on a two-way, that would be something that we'll need to move forward on that future phases. But this initial rollout of the unidirectional and being able to pull the information directly from PeopleSoft into ServiceNow, that has been a great value add, because that leverage for our workforce being able to see, now I don't have to log into PeopleSoft to see what the employee termination date or what type of retirement plan they selected. So we started with that, but now we're already getting a lot of the buy-in. So in the future, whether it be on the manager side from the program or from our side of the HR teams, they're able to start and do the operations from ServiceNow and Employee Center rather than having to go into PeopleSoft.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Chip Kendrick. I'm with DocuSign, a ServiceNow partner. My question's directed at you, Mark. How do you and HR collaborate with a large portion of your 11,000 employees, which are teachers, to figure out what to automate in the workflows?
I think we're looking and more to the onboarding or in-processing aspect of that. What forms do we need up front? That's where we're trying to work and get those brought into the onboarding effort of that. I think that we'll be able to do the majority of that using products like DocuSign to be able to get those signed forms in and ready so that we can bring those personnel on board. There are some forms in HR that still require a wet signature that we can't get around, but the majority of them we're thinking we're going to be able to automate and take that. We're modernizing a lot of our older systems as well and bringing them into ServiceNow, and a lot of that we're seeing is going to make things much easier for the customer. So our focus is really on automate what we can. Again, little pieces. We've got some quick wins that we know that we can do and automate certain forms. A lot of government forms, that you only need the form if you have to print it out, right? The data can maintain in the system. They only need the form when they have to print the form. So that's been something we've really looked at. If we don't need a form to show, we just need the data, we have the ability to collect the data and then put that data in a form if they need to print it out. So hopefully that answered your question. If not, I can keep going. Okay. Okay. No, those who know me know I have no problem. Just keep going. So.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Lauren Sabeda. I'm a solutions partner, implementation partner, services, et cetera. Background is we've done quite a few HRSD implementations, and we co-create with our stakeholders, and that leads to better outcomes, leads to increased adoption, all kinds of really good things. However, we do have instances where there are things that are currently in place, call them legacy, call them whatever you like, that lead to consternation, friction within the implementation itself. I'm not going to name certain things, but our DocuSign friend over here has a really good example of that. What challenges have you faced that need to be overcome that prevent a smooth and quick and fast implementation of a lot of these workflows that you have? And that's a question for both. Thank you.
You want me to go? So I think the biggest thing we're finding, right, with 3 geographical regions around the world, in the past, so many different business processes were in place, right? And I think it goes back to that partnership with HR and with our user community and back to that customer experience. We're going to give them a much better customer experience, but we have to standardize those processes. And that's where the workflows have really helped us to identify what that business process is and standardize it, and then use the employee experience to just grow on that. And I think that's been one of our biggest things. We would never have been able to do it if we would have sat and said, give me your business process, what you do, and we'll implement that for you. I would not even be sitting here, to be honest. We'd still be talking about what we're going to do. So we've had to make some leadership decisions, right? In some ways that say, hey, we're going to get better. To get better, we have to implement. We have to do it in these ways and then get buy-in. I think if you have the user community definitely understands. Sometimes it's the HR community. That's been our biggest struggle. They want to do it the way they've always done it, and it's how do you change that mindset of that person that let's do it a little bit different way. That's probably one of our biggest impacts I think we've had, is been able to work with the HR specialists and say, hey, I got it, we've done it that way, let's try it this way, or let me show you, or you're a part of this, help me develop a better way to do this. So that's sort of the way we've approached it.
So for us, just using that PeopleSoft integration as an example, one of the main reasons why we decided on the unidirectional approach in the beginning is because of that. There are a lot of customization that is within our HRIS that would create a lot bigger problems for us to try for that bi-directional and be able to do a streamlined integration, which is why to start with and see, it's not a matter of just a plug and play type of integration, especially with these type of legacy systems. So even with this unidirectional, we faced a lot of challenges as far as the data pool, data integrity, cleaning up on the data side. So that created a lot of issues for us, which our easiest approach for a quick win, but also continue to work in future phases, was that to ensure to say, for this phase, let's do that unidirectional, and then we'll continue to build on that.
All right, any other questions for our panelists here? If not, are there any closing words that maybe you want to add, Absala, that we haven't talked about?
No, I think it's just the HRSD, especially the HRSD effort, because I don't want to leave out ITSM, but HRSD has been a great project for us just because we have seen the most continuous improvement in our day-to-day processes. We are able to change the overall operations within our agency because we're able to see kind of, even from our workforce, we got a lot of resistance when we first introduced the HRSD approach, but as we did the phased approach and we got the smaller wins with the incremental modernization, we were able to use those different teams. And I keep bringing up benefits because that's been the biggest transformation for us, but using those teams to continue to build on that. We're definitely not quite there yet, but it's been a great addition for our organization thus far.
Transformation is always hard.
Absolutely.
To get everybody on board and going in one direction.
Yeah.
But once they get there, it's all about that experience, right?
Yeah.
What about for you, Mark?
I think it's the same way. Transformation's hard, change is hard, right, for people who've been doing something for 30 years, and now you're going to take it away. You've got to work with them on being that partner and helping. Let's get to the end state where it will be better, and it takes a while because we're taking from the business units that are working every day in that field, and we have to take their time now to say, let's go this way. So it is a stress, and I think that's sometimes what slows us. Is the business units are mission-focused, heavily mission-focused. We have challenges sometimes in moving things forward just from a time perspective. But we work through that, and we do the best we can to transform. But it's a journey, right? It's not an overnight thing. In fact, it'll be going long beyond after I leave. It'll continue. It's something constant in the way we live now, right? With AI is a great example. By the time we get this done, there's a new AI, there's a new thing that's continuous. So it's a continuous transformation now. And it's about how we adjust, I think, and how we as CIOs, sort of not drive it, but not, be a part of it and champion it within our organization. So
Keeping engaged with all the business partners and keeping that excitement of here's the experience that you're going to have, whether you're doing the work or you're receiving the work, right?
And having those champions, I think gaining champions as we move along through the transformation because ITE can't do it all. Right. We're not going to be in every room, so as we implement it and gain those adoptions, but it's definitely a slow process, but it can definitely be done.
Worthwhile process.
It's worthwhile.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Well, I want to thank you all for coming. A couple more things. If there aren't any other questions left, I do want to remind you that we've got Knowledge coming up in Vegas, May 6th through the 8th, so we'd love to see you there as well. I've got some QR codes here for you if you want to continue to learn more about AI platform for government transformation. We've got a whole site full of information for you. There's also some information about the Rapid Results product, the Government Transformation Suite that was talked about earlier in the keynote, and as well as that QR code for Knowledge. So I hope you enjoyed this session. We'd love to hear your feedback as well to let us know, what we should plan on for other upcoming webinars and sessions that we have. But thank you for coming. And thank you, Absala, and thank you, Mark, for joining us on this panel today.